If you're preparing for the AZ-104 Azure Administrator exam in 2026, this video will show you exactly how exam ready you are. Grab a notepad, track your score as we go, and at the end, you'll know whether you're ready for the real AZ-104 exam or what you still need to improve. Question 6. You have a virtual network named VNet1 that contains the subnets shown in the following table. You have Azure virtual machines that have the network configurations shown in the following table. For NSG1, you create the inbound security rule shown in the following table. For NSG2, you create the inbound security rule shown in the following table. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. VM2 can connect to the TCP port 4433 services on VM1. The options are A, yes, B, no. This question tests your understanding of NSG rule evaluation order for inbound traffic between Azure VMs. VM2 10.10.5 wants to connect to VM1 10.5 on port TC1433. You need to check if NSGs allow this traffic. The correct answer is no. When VM2 10.10.2.5 tries to connect to VM1 10.10.1.5 on TCP 1433, Azure evaluates NSGs in this order for inbound traffic to VM1. First, the subnet level NSG, NSG1 on subnet 1, then the INIC level NSG, NSG2 on VM1's network interface. NSG1 has a rule with priority 101 that allows traffic from 10.10.224 to 10.1.04 on TCP 1433, so the subnet level check passes. However, NSG2 on VM1's NIC has a rule with priority 125 that blocks traffic from the specific IP 10.10.25 to 10.10.1.5 on TCP 1433. Since NSG2's block rule matches the traffic, the connection is denied at the NIC level, and VM2 cannot connect to VM1. Why the answer is no. Even though NSG1 subnet level allows the traffic, NSG2 NIC level blocks the specific traffic from 10.10.2.5 to 10.10.1.5 on TCP 1433. Both NSG levels must permit the traffic for it to reach the VM. If either NSG denies it, the traffic is blocked. Quick memory tip. Remember, inbound equals subnet NSG first, then NIC NSG. Both must allow traffic, and if either blocks it, the connection fails. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 7. You have a virtual network named VNet1 that contains the subnets shown in the following table. You have Azure virtual machines that have the network configurations shown in the following table. For NSG1, you create the inbound security rule shown in the following table. For NSG2, you create the inbound security rule shown in the following table. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. VM1 can connect to the TCP port 433 services on VM2. The options are A, yes, B, no. This question tests NSG evaluation for traffic flowing in the opposite direction. Now VM1 10.11.5 is trying to connect to VM2 10.10.2.5 on TCP 1433. VM2 has no NSG attached to its NIC, and subnet 2 has no NSG attached to it, so you need to check what happens with no explicit deny rules. The correct answer is yes. VM1 10.10.1.5 can successfully connect to VM2 10.10.2.5 on TCP 1433 because VM2 has no NSG attached to its network interface, and subnet 2 has no NSG attached. When no NSG is associated with a subnet or NIC, Azure applies default security rules that include a rule allowing all inbound traffic from any source within the same virtual network, VNet. Since both VM1 and VM2 are in VNet1 10.10.0.0.16, the traffic is permitted by default. The NSG rules on NSG1 and NSG2 only affect traffic to VM1, not traffic from VM1 to other VMs. Why the answer is yes. VM2 has no NIC level NSG. No custom rules block the inbound connection. Subnet 2 has no subnet level NSG. No custom rules block traffic at the subnet level. Azure's default VNet rule allows inbound traffic from any source within the same VNet, including from VM1 to VM2. Quick memory tip, remember, no NSG equals default allow within VNet. Without an NSG blocking it, VMs in the same VNet can communicate freely. Question 8. You have a virtual network named VNet1 that contains the subnets shown in the following table. You have Azure virtual machines that have the network configurations shown in the following table. For NSG1, you create the inbound security rule shown in the following table. For NSG2, you create the inbound security rule shown in the following table. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. VM2 can connect to the TCP port 1433 services on VM3. The options are A, yes, B, no. This question tests NSG evaluation for traffic between two VMs in the same subnet. Both VM2 and VM3 are in subnet 2. VM2 10.net 2.5 wants to connect to VM3 10.net 2.6 on TCP 1433, and neither VM has an NSG attached to their NICs. The correct answer is yes, VM2 10.10 2.5 can successfully connect to VM3 10.26 on TCP 1433 because both VMs are in subnet 2. Neither VM has an NSG attached to their network interfaces, and subnet 2 has no NSG attached. When no custom NSGs are present, Azure applies default security rules that allow all inbound traffic from sources within the same virtual network. Since VM2 and VM3 are both in the same VNet, VNet1, and the same subnet, subnet 2, the traffic is automatically permitted by the default Allow VNet Inbound rule. Why the answer is yes. VM3 has no NIC-level NSG. No custom rules exist to block the connection. Subnet 2 has no subnet-level NSG. No subnet restrictions apply. Both VMs are in the same subnet and VNet. Azure's default rules allow intra-VNet communication, including between VMs in the same subnet. The NSG rules on NSG1 and NSG2 only affect VM1 and subnet 1, not traffic within subnet 2. Quick memory tip. Remember, same subnet plus no NSG equals always allowed. Without NSGs blocking it, VMs in the same subnet communicate freely by default. Question 9. You have an app named App1 that runs on an Azure web app named Web App 1. The developers at your company upload an update of App1 to a Git repository named Git1. Web App 1 has the deployment slots shown in the following table. You need to ensure that the App1 update is tested before the update is made available to users. Which two actions should you perform? The options are A. Stop Web App 1 prod. B. Deploy the App1 update to Web App 1 prod and then test the update. C. Deploy the App1 update to Web App 1 test and then test the update. D. Stop Web App 1 test. E. Swap the slots. This question tests your understanding of Azure App Service deployment slots and how to safely deploy updates using staging to production workflow. You have two slots, Web App 1 prod, production, and Web App 1 test, staging. You need to test the update in staging first, then promote it to production. The correct answer is C. Deploy the App1 update to Web App 1-test, and then test the update. E. Swap the slots. The correct workflow for safely deploying and testing updates using deployment slots is to first deploy the App1 update to Web App 1-test, the staging slot, where you can thoroughly test it without affecting production users. After validating that the update works correctly in the staging environment, you perform a slot swap to promote the tested code from Web App 1 test to Web App 1 prod, production. The swap operation is seamless with zero downtime. It exchanges the content and configuration between slots, making the tested staging version instantly available to production users while moving the previous production version to the staging slot. This approach ensures all instances are warmed up before going live and allows easy rollback if needed. Why the other options are incorrect. Stop Web App 1 prod, A, is unnecessary and would cause downtime for production users. Slot swaps work without stopping either slot. Deploy to Web App 1-prod and test, B, would deploy untested code directly to production, exposing users to potential bugs and defeating the purpose of having a staging slot. Stop Web App 1 test, D, is unnecessary and would prevent you from deploying and testing the update. Slots operate independently and don't need to be stopped. Quick memory tip, remember, test in staging, swap to production. Deployment slots follow a deploy, test, swap workflow for zero downtime updates. To get the free PDF, simply watch this full video. As you watch, you'll see the progress bar generating your PDF in real time. Once the video is almost complete, the download button unlocks automatically. No forms, no sign up, just learn first, then download. Question 10. You have an Azure subscription. You need to deploy a virtual machine by using an Azure Resource Manager ARM template. You need to complete the following template. Which value should you choose for placeholder 1? The options are A, reference, B, resource ID, C, union. This question tests your understanding of ARM template dependency syntax using the depends on element. The VM resource depends on a network interface, Microsoft.network/network interfaces/VM1, and you need to specify the correct function to reference that dependency. The correct answer is B, resource ID. In ARM templates, the depends on element requires a full resource identifier to establish deployment dependencies between resources. The resource ID function constructs the complete resource ID by combining the subscription ID, resource group name, resource type, and resource name into the format /subscriptions/subscription ID/resource groups/resource group name/providers/Microsoft.network/network interfaces VM1. In this template, the VM depends on the network interface, so placeholder 1 should be resource ID to generate. Resource ID Microsoft.network/network interfaces/VM1. This tells Azure Resource Manager to wait for the network interface creation to complete before starting the VM deployment. Why the other options are incorrect? Reference A is used to retrieve runtime properties or state of a resource that already exists or is being deployed, not for defining dependencies in depends on. Union C is an array manipulation function that combines multiple arrays, not related to resource dependencies or identifiers. Quick memory tip. Remember, depends on needs resource ID. When specifying resource dependencies in ARM templates, use resource ID to construct the full resource identifier.